For those of you who don't know, we do a little thing called Versus where we pick two teams and we say what team will not only have the better record, but who will go further in the playoffs. So this week we're doing the San Francisco 49ers and the Las Vegas Raiders. I actually think both teams are going to surprise people this season. And I'll start with the Raiders. I don't by surprise, I think the Raiders aren't going to be dreadful. If that makes sense. I don't think they'll be dreadful. I think they'll be a comparable. Pete Carroll in his first seasons and every stop, whether it was 6-6 at USC, I believe it was 6-10 with the one with the Jets, and then he was 7-9 his first year in Seattle. His only winning record was the one season in New England where he went 10-6. But his first year is always kind of a rebuild year. It's always kind of a fallout year. And he always makes a dramatic change after that first year. I believe this dramatic change this year, after the first year, will be getting rid of Charles Kelly. But we'll get to that. We'll start that car in a minute. I really, really, really believe the Raiders will be a solid, high-level, functioning, consistent football team. Geno Smith is a high-level, consistent quarterback. You're not going to win games because of Geno, but you're not going to lose games because of Geno. He's going into his 12th season. He's not going to make the catastrophic mistake, but he's not going to make the unbelievable throw either. So he's a guy that's going to keep you in games and give you a chance. I love Gentry. I believe he's Hall of Fame special. I really do. Unfortunately, I saw a lot of Boise State games. I'm going to say it again. Unfortunately, I saw a lot of Boise State games. Gentry is special, man. Like I said, he's Hall of Fame gold jacket special. That kid is going to win a game or two for him by himself. They got Mozart also backing him up, so he's got a veteran in the locker room who knows he's looking at something different. He's looking at a different cut cloth. Other than that, I don't see anything that makes your eyes pop out. And like I started out, it's hard to be positive with Charles Kelly in the fold. It is. It's so many negative things surrounding him. But this is his last hurrah. And what do they say? A hungry dog runs fast, or something along those lines. This is his last run. And so he's going to give it everything he got. But I just think that there's going to be too many cultural clashes there. But even with all that said, I like this team. They're going to be, for me, their breaking point's going to be around week 5. I think they'll be at that point 1-3. And they'll be at Indianapolis, I believe. And yes, at Indianapolis, they'll be about 1-3. They win that game. They come home against the Titans. They're now 3-3 at week 6 or going into week 7. Now, for those of you who are like, so Las Vegas has not been at that point in the season 500 in a very long time. So I'll wrap it up with this. That will be, in my opinion, the breaking point for their season. They win that game, they'll finish out about, let's say 8-9, maybe a possible 9-8. They lose that game, they'll still be about 6-11, 7-10. But you'll see the improvements in the way they play.
Well, I actually think when you look at their schedule, the way it starts out with, I think they have a shot. And I think they win that Patriots game. The Chargers, I think they're very competitive. I have a win in 4 of their first 7 games before the bye week. Yeah, I really feel high on this because.
So you think they beat the Chargers? You think they beat the Chargers in week 2?
I think it's close. I don't know if they beat them. I think they beat the Patriots. I think they beat the Bears. I think they beat the Colts, and I think they beat the Titans because 2 AFC South teams. Oh, that's a gimme. I like that a lot.
Yeah,
so I look at them. Yeah.
Well, let me hold on. Stop at that light because I want to chop that up with you a little bit. All right. So I'm going to go with Caleb in that game, and I'm going to go with Harbaugh. I don't think the Raiders have enough to overcome those playmakers and that coaching. But I'm going to give it back to you.
Yeah, that's the thing. Like, I think they have enough over the Bears. I think that's where I was leaning because if I did that, I'd feel like, all right, that's 5 wins. I'm like, wait a minute, hold up. Raiders aren't a 5-win team this early, and then I'm pulling back on that. That's what I was like. Yeah, right. I think they're playing close though. Yeah. I do think they beat the Bears, especially at home. Caleb Williams, I think, is going to struggle early on. I think it won't click till halfway through the season with him picking up Ben Johnson's offense. So that's why I'm like, you know what? And I just look at the way that it's constructed. I think a lot of people still think about Chip Kelly as this, he's going to throw, hurry up offense. And that's why I think he had Gentry doing that. It takes some pressure off Geno Smith. Brock Bowers still does very well on the inside. And just imagine right now that RPO game with Geno his decision making. You got to worry about flying up to stop Genty. Oh wait, you got Brock Bowers going on the backside there. Okay, do I like their depth at wide receivers? I'm not in love with it. No, I'm really not in love with it, but I think it's enough where it can be serviceable, and then you
Yeah.
just continue to build as it goes along. I like
And
the
they got
addition of
that
Pete.
depth at running back too.
Yeah,
You don't want to gloss over that. Having Mozart as the backup to Gentry allows you, staying with that point that you're making and allows them to take advantage of Powers and allows them to take advantage of Geno's quick decision making, which all the way back to his time at West Virginia, it really, really thrives at. Go ahead. I interrupted you.
yeah, and especially when it comes to like I think when he's the feature guy, like he's sitting in Miami and anything else, that's why I think he starts to break down. When you're not having to put the whole entire onus of the offense on him, I think he's great. He's a good number two. Then you got to think that then I'm like, okay, offensively that can be decent. Defensively, Max Crosby, yeah, he's still one of the best edge rushers in the league. The one thing I think is going to come back is that stupid forehead kiss to Christian Wilkins, if that's true, or alleged what Schefter did. Because then you lose a really big thing. We see how this league is shifting to focus on the interior defensive linemen and the pressure they can make on the inside. Now I'm thinking like, okay, if they really do the hurry up to the point that Chip wants to run this thing, that defense is going to be on the field for a long time and can tire out. And you don't have a run stuffer and it just wears you out with the run game. I worry about that a little bit. So I
Yeah.
think they make some things. I think they flirt with the 7 seed, but the problem is they're in the AFC West, which is already a tough division as
Yeah.
is.
Yes.
Very
Yes.
tough division.
Yes.
So good. It's a good first start for Pete Carroll. We know what he does. I think he's the right guy for that job, even if he is a little bit older for that. I think he's the right guy for that because of the mentality and culture he built. So I can see the Raiders having a good first season under him. I think next year will be the real true test to see where this team is as it goes forward.
I agree. And before we even jump to the Niners, just kind of put a bow on the Raiders. I believe there's hope in Raider Nation. I don't have a problem. I know a lot of people do have a problem with Pete Carroll's age. Well, I believe there's wisdom in age. I believe there's golden experience. And Pete Carroll has coached different decades of players. So he's gonna eventually, before he leaves the Raiders, coach a child whose father he drafted. I'm gonna say that again. Before he leaves the Raiders, he's going to coach someone's son whose father he drafted. Now, that sounds crazy on the surface, but you think about that because a lot of these guys, football is what they breathe, it's what they live. And while that guy may not fit in Seattle or Miami or Denver, he's going to go a little harder because this guy gave not only him a shot, but he gave his father a shot. It's a great story. Mark Ingram, I would say Mark Ingram had a solid career in the NFL. I think he would agree with me.
Yeah.
People don't know. People don't think about this often. He was a Heisman Trophy winner in Alabama. So you say, well, what does that have to do with anything? Well, how did they maximize him? He worked hard in Alabama. But you know who his coach was Nick Saban. You know who Nick Saban coached? Mark Ingram's father. He coached his father. It's a connection that a lot of people, especially growing up in our culture, it matters. So I just think Pete Carroll I don't have a problem with his age. And I don't have one thing Pete Carroll does a great thing of, and this is why there's hope in Raider Nation. He knows that being the smartest man in the room knows you're not the smartest man. He will step back and say, yeah, we paid a lot of money for this quarterback, but this young pup, Russell Wilson, got something about him. We were going to be a passing offense. We're going to go out and get this wild guy out in Buffalo. It's just something about this guy. And we're going to let these guys be these guys. And that year they went 7-9 in Seattle. They went to the playoffs, right?
Yeah,
His first year.
Weird thing, yeah.
And they beat a team that was supposed to be going to the Super Bowl, if I'm not mistaken. So look, you said they're going to flirt with the playoffs. I just don't see it, but the AFC South is dreadful, and the Bengals are going to be the team I think they're going to be. There might be a spot for them to sneak in. And I just believe next year is a better run for them, but there's hope in Raider Nation. Now, here's where I'm really going off the rail, and you're going to think I'm crazy. The San Francisco 49ers. What do you see? And again, the question is, who do you think will have the better record and who do you think will go further in the playoffs? I think we both agree what will be the 49ers. So I'm going to open up to you and say, what do you see the 49ers see? How do you see the 49ers season unfolding?
Now, when you look at their schedule, having with them, the only thing I'll trip them up is.
With me. I think you're going to agree.
Yeah, I think they'll definitely have they'll definitely have a better record. I could see them getting to the divisional round because the way
I knew
they're,
you were gonna agree with me. Yeah.
yeah, I
Yeah.
see the schedule is the only thing can trip them up is that you still are pretty banged up. Everything still hangs on Christian McCaffrey, and their bye week is in December, so that's a long stretch to go. But the beauty about that is just before that bye, you got teams like the Panthers and the Cardinals, or the rest before there. I think they lose one of them. I don't know which one, but just because you're playing so long, it's just that. But then you got the Jags, Bucks,
Yep.
Falcons. There are teams that are easily beatable, I think, with this. And if every year you have to say this with it, if Christian McCaffrey stays healthy, if Brock Purdy learns to be the Brock Purdy was originally and actually steps up to that superstar level instead of just being like, okay, I'll be the game manager, I'll be passing around, everybody's okay, all right, good. If he gets to
He
that
says it in
level,
that voice, though. Chris, he says it in that voice. That's his voice.
hello, sir, I'm going to make sure you get the ball and you get the ball and you
Oh,
get the
that's
ball.
hilarious.
Everything's
That's
fine.
awesome. That's
It's all right,
awesome.
guys. I got paid now. I'm happy. Yeah.
That's awesome. That
But
is awesome.
if he does that, if the choir boy does that and everything's good with it, I think they can actually. I don't think they win a division. I still think it's the Rams that wins that division. But I think they're
Mm.
going to be a tough out for anybody. Whoever finishes 3, I think I can see them being 6 seed.
Okay.
And as a 6 seed, I think they beat. And you're looking at probably. I think the NFC East. Whoever wins the NFC East is probably going to be 2 or 1. But a wild card, whoever they match up against a wild card, they're going to be tough out, and I can actually see them beating a team in the wild card round and then getting bounced out in the divisional round because I don't see this team being held down 2 straight years. Even if I'm not the biggest Kyle Shanahan fan, he's still a decent coach, and he can get the most out of his players. I.e. Brock Purdy. So yeah, that's why I think they get to the divisional round and the playoffs. And they make some noise.
I think that the 49ers are going to be the surprise team of the NFL this year. The 49ers, the only loss I guarantee don't see them winning is, I believe, week 5 at Tampa Bay. Oh, no, week 13. It's later in the season. And going down in that humidity, leaving San Francisco in that humidity is going to play a role in them. You can look it up and see what week it is. It's the only loss I see. And here's why. Before we talk about how good the 49ers are going to be, let's look at who their contemporaries are, look who their competitors are. You mentioned the Rams. If I told you Matthew Stafford has never had back-to-back 10-win seasons, you'd be blown away by it. I'll do you one better. The great mind of the Rams coach, who all of a sudden I'm drawing a blank on,
Okay.
and is say again,
Sean McVay.
yeah, McVay. You look up McVay's record in back-to-back seasons. He's another one that struggles with success in back-to-back seasons. You look at who the Rams are as a team. I don't see any wolves over there. I see a team full of sheep. I look at Verse. It's about it. It's the only wolf they got on that team. It's the only guy they got on that team that is in his prime and is ready to rock and roll. You're thinking in your head right now, and you're trying to think of names. There's nobody that comes to mind right away.
That's a tackle they have though. The one who went to Florida State with Verse. I'm drawing a blank.
You're drawing a blank because you're reaching. You
Oh,
don't
no, I
have to
think he's
reach for
actually
something.
legit.
No, I'm not saying like in a reaching name. I'm just saying like you don't have to reach for something that's right in front of you. And when you look at what's right in front of you, look at Matthew Stafford, his career, consistent success has eluded him. He had 9 wins, not last season, the season before. Then he had 10. I think everyone would agree that towards the end of the season, Stafford kind of went down. He kind of got tired. Then there was questions about the R word. You and I have covered athletes long enough to know that once they start thinking about the R word, they've already R worded. They've already R worded. They're already looking at options outside. They're surfing deals for analyst positions. Another thing about the 49ers, and again, before we can say how good the 49ers are going to be, I want to talk about who their competitors are. Kyler Murray is still a DEI quarterback. I say that in jest. I'm being silly, but the point I'm trying to make is he's still a guy that you feel like if he was a standard, regular, not a regular, if he was a standard 6'2", 6'3" quarterback drafted first overall, they would still not be waiting on Kyler Murray. The only reason why we're waiting on Kyler Murray is because people are mesmerized by the things he does despite his size. So for me, I look at the Arizona Cardinals again. I don't see any wolves over there, man. I don't see any wolves over there. So now we got the Rams. You got Verse. You got an unnamed tackle. We'll call him roster tackle.
Oh, Fist. That's what it is.
Again, 2 wolves, if that. And before we move forward, give me the other team in the NFC West. Quick.
Seattle.
Seattle. Exactly. So now you've got 3 teams that if Seattle wins 7 games, that is a successful season for Seattle. If Seattle wins 7 games, that's a successful season. If Arizona doesn't look awful, that is a successful season. If Kyler Murray makes it through the year, that is a successful season. There is no reason to believe for any moment in time that Kyler Murray is going to lead that team to a 10-win season. So now we're talking about the Rams. And I opened up the segment by saying Stafford, towards the end of the season, was going down. Everyone would agree with that. Has never, in his 17 years in the NFL, 16, 17 years in the NFL, has never had back-to-back 10-win seasons. He's had 11, 7. So with that being said, I look at a 49ers team that is coached by a coach who I've never been a fan of. But 4 of 6 seasons has had 10 or more wins. 4 of 6 seasons, he's had 10 or more wins. I look at a head coach who has had 13 wins, 11 wins, 13 wins in 3 or 4 seasons. I look at a division that is, for all intents and purposes. And I'm going to throw you one more little nugget out, then I'll give it back to you. 49ers just made a sneaky trade. And if you cover the NFC East, if you know anything about the NFC East, the guy that they just got is a dude that flies under the radar, but has it. He has it. He has it in him, and he will thrive in that one-cut rushing offense. His name is Brian Robinson Jr. They just grabbed him from the Commanders / Deadskins / Nationals, whatever the hell their name is this week. They just made a trade for him. All I'm saying is they just eliminated if Christian McCaffrey's healthy. Because I'm telling you, as I sit here in a purple shirt, Brian Robinson is a damn good running back. And in that offense, with Brock Purdy, you said about him not having to, pretty much letting him drop and having bass in his voice. There's nobody, Ayuk is going to be on physically unable to perform. Probably won't be back till middle of the season, if that. They've got a bunch of guys on the outside who are all trying to make a name for themselves. They're a big, physical football team. I think they only got like maybe 20 dudes that are 5'10" or smaller. So the bulk of their roster is all 6'1". So they're a big team. They're coached by a guy that in the regular season gets it done with a bunch of hungry Wolves, because that's one thing the 49ers always have are wolves. They always have wolves on their team. And a division full of sheep. I really like this team to have a breakout year. I like what you said about how far they're going to playoffs.
There's a lot of good there in San Francisco right now.
I say all great points. Can't dispute any of those points. My man, they play the AFC South and the NFC South. Man, they play the AFC South and the NFC South. So they are getting a chance to really go. They are going to play some teams, especially at certain points of the season, that are going to be one step above joint practice level.